As promised, President Trump visited Texas today to see the aftermath of Harvey firsthand and to try to lift the spirits of those impacted by the storm.
We want to do it better than ever before. We want to be looked at in 5 years and 10 years from now as this is the way to do it. This was of epic proportion. Nobody's ever seen anything like this.
With the latest on President Trump's response to Harvey, let's bring in Ed Henry from Washington. Ed, what do we have?
Jesse, just in the last few moments, we've learned that the Coast Guard says that over 4,300 lives have been saved by that agency in the Houston area since Sunday alone. And the key is they are still saving lives at this hour, working around the clock, along with many law enforcement officials and first responders around the Houston area. That is what President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were highlighting today as they saluted the tireless work of these first responders. In fact, they visited Texas Governor Greg Abbott and other top officials in Austin and Corpus Christi, deliberately not going to Houston because the president did not want his presence to rob critical resources that could help save lives in the Houston area. This is all hands on deck for the Trump administration, so serious that the Defense Department today revealed as many as 20,000 to 30,000 additional National Guard troops could soon deploy to areas hit hardest by Hurricane Harvey. Even some of the president's one-time political foes, like Senator Ted Cruz, said today he was impressed that the commander-in-chief made this clear and unequivocal commitment to the people of Texas.
We love you. You are special. We're here to take care. It's going well. And I want to thank you for coming out. We're going to get you back and operating immediately.
Now, FEMA Director Brock Long was direct in saying the convention center in Houston, quote, is not the Superdome, noting there is food and security for displaced residents, a sharp contrast from the chaos at the Superdome in New Orleans, a remarkable statement, to be sure, to be made on the 12th anniversary of the start of Hurricane Katrina. Worth noting as well that as First Lady Melania Trump accompanied the president, there were actually liberals in the mainstream media who were so obsessed with reporting that she started the day in high heels. We can report she later changed into sneakers. Remarkable they focused on trivial matters amid all the death and devastation. The First Lady tonight putting out a statement declaring the effects of this storm will be felt for many years to come. Jesse?
Ed, thank you very much. All right, so Kimberly, before we get to High Heel Gate, Shoegate, or Stiletto Gate, whatever you want to call it, tell me your assessment about the president's travel there, the timing, the optics, and the remarks that he delivered.
I think he was very strong, and I'm curious to see if, across the airwaves tonight they're going to give him credit for that. I think he was very presidential. He was commanding in terms of his presence. I love that he was, trying to lift the spirits of these people who have been so beaten down by this natural disaster and this devastation that's been pouring down upon them. I think the two of them together, the president and the first lady, really represented the country well, and you could tell that they were very well received. And I loved his sort of, coach mentality, trying to cheer them on and lift them up to make them feel powerful and courageous and fearless, like there wasn't anything that they couldn't handle. I like that approach.
Yeah.
That's an approach that brings people together and makes them feel confident even though they may be feeling down, and it changes the emotional and psychological direction that they might have been going in. It's going to make them better capable and able to, handle the outcomes here of what they're going through.
And great moment when he held the Texas flag up.
Absolutely. Texas strong. I love it.
Big response. And Shoegate, what do you say?
I think that the First Lady, she's very elegant, she's classy. This is someone who I think represents the country very well, and I think she feels as a mother the pain and the devastation of the families and the children that are suffering, and we should focus on that.
The recovery efforts must be going pretty well, Greg, if all the left can do is attack the First Lady's shoes.
Well, it's actually getting more than that. CNN senior White House correspondent Jeff Zeleny said he noticed, quote, very little in terms of empathy from this president.
We actually have that tape.
Oh, let's roll that, and then why not?
Why not?
I would enjoy that. Thank you, Jesse.
One thing I am struck by here, seeing all the stories of emotion, all the stories of loss, of devastation still unfolding. We do not know the extent of the damage here. Very little in terms of empathy from this president. Very little in terms of emotion or talking directly to the people of Texas.
Wow. What a shameless opportunist. Okay. it's not about empathy. It's about effectiveness. Yep. This is a dangerous thing to be playing when you think feelings are more important than funds. Yep. Feelings don't save lives. They don't. They actually replace funds. If you think that somebody's doing good by hugging, look at Blanco. Terrible response to Katrina. What did she do? She held off sending in federal troops for days after the storm hit. If you look at Nagin, who's now watching this from a jail cell, what did he do? You know, the Red Cross was denied entrance into New Orleans. All the buses were on low-lying land, so they all were ruined. And all of this got placed on the president. They got placed on President Bush. They somehow made it so that Bush really doesn't care about suffering when all he did was try to do his best. It were the people in New Orleans. It was what's her name, Kathleen Blanco, who just faded into obscurity. My point is this: she cried. She cried during this. She showed empathy. She was a failure. Yeah, I don't need crying. I don't need empathy. I need effectiveness. And I'm hopefully that's what we'll see.
Do you agree with that?
I do. You don't need pop psychology. That's
right.
Not helping anyone. Natural disasters like this, though, politically can make or break the president. We all know that. That's not news to anyone. So this trip was really important. I think, but not just because of optics and public perception. This trip was really important because the president needed to see the damage and devastation firsthand, because right now he's the decision maker in chief. Over the next days and weeks, he's going to make a series of decisions that are going to determine how the nation responds to this, and then in turn how Texas recovers from this over the coming months and years. So he needs the information he can only get from being there on the ground. So all around, it was a good decision politically for him to go there today, and it was a good decision for him practically also. I think waiting would have been a big mistake.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I don't know about empathy, because, I mean, to me, the fact that he would take the time to go there, the president's scheduled to go not only to Texas but Louisiana later this week, possibly Saturday. But I will say that there is a difficulty here for conservatives on the funding issue that Greg was talking about, because if you'll recall, people like Senator Ted Cruz opposed help for people in the Northeast when Hurricane Sandy hit back in 2012, I believe.
Well, he says that because the bill was filled with pork.
Well, whatever. I'm just saying, now we're hearing a different song. And now you have a situation where in the president's budget, he's cutting funding for things like insurance for people who live in flood zones. He's cutting back on community development block grants that would help people rebuild. So maybe the power of seeing this, the real measure of empathy, and again, I'm just copying off what Greg said, but the real measure of empathy is his ability to say, I'm going to help you, and give help in terms of funding or other federal aid that's critical for people trying to do what Brock Long, the FEMA director, says is going to be a long, slow recovery.
You know what a really boring segment would be, but in fact, one that people have to know about is flood insurance.
Yeah.
The whole controversy behind flood insurance is absolutely astounding. The types of repeat floods and what happens and how much is paid out. It would bore you to tears, but it is probably one of the most important stories out there.
It wouldn't bore the real estate industry.
No.
All right. Well, we won't be talking about that later, but up next, North Korea has conducted perhaps its